Incredible undercover experiment exposes racism. Heartwarming twist unfolds within 24 hours. The vibrant community fair at Willow Creek High School buzzed with excitement. Balloons floated in the air, laughter filled the space, and the smell of grilled hot dogs wafted through the crowd. Jake, a 35-year-old single dad, stood beside a table piled high with glittery crafts. Despite the bright colors and cheerful faces around him, a knot tightened in his chest. Just 1 year after losing his home, he felt out of place among the families that generally thrived in this suburban neighborhood. Determined to provide a better life for his 2 kids, ages 8 and 10, he jumped at the chance to volunteer at the fair. This was his moment to connect, to prove he wasn't defined by his circumstances. However, as he looked around, he couldn't shake the feeling of judgment from some of the more affluent folks milling about. Polite nods from neighbors felt like thinly veiled sneers. Still, with his children watching, he smiled and carried on, setting up games and booths with a focused earnestness that masked his unease. As sunset draped a warm glow over the festivities, the local principal stepped up to the microphone, announcing an undercover social experiment meant to unveil hidden biases in the community. The crowd buzzed with chatter, excitement mixed with tension. Jake felt a flutter of hope. Maybe this was not just about games and corn dogs, but about acceptance and understanding. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jake threw himself into working at the fair, hoping to break through the icy walls surrounding him. He helped a young girl tie a balloon animal and struck up small talk with a father nearby. The man's wife shot daggers at Jake with her gaze, whispering loud enough for him to hear. Why bother? He's just a tenant in a cheap apartment. Her words cut deeply, and he blinked hard against the sting of tears. However, before Jake could retreat into his shell, the crowd gasped. An elderly neighbor collapsed amid the booths. The atmosphere shifted as hands reached out. Uncertainty and panic set in. Jake's heart raced, but without a moment's hesitation, he dashed forward. He knelt beside her, offering comfort while checking for signs of life, demonstrating the resilience born from his struggles. In that fleeting moment, the crowd witnessed not the stigma they associated with him, but a man of genuine kindness. Whispers of admiration rippled through the onlookers, some even saying, "Look at him go." The worries faded. Jake became less of a symbol of struggle and more an emblem of heroism. In the chaos, he found acceptance. As the fair wound down, community leaders prepared to acknowledge Jake's actions. Yet doubts floated through Jake's mind. Had he truly changed perceptions, or were they simply caught up in the moment? With the darkening sky overhead, the lingering shadows of bias seemed ready to cloud any warmth that his courage had sparked. Would he be able to climb out of the shadow of prejudice, or would echoes of judgment still loom, lingering despite his heroism? Jake stood there, surrounded by conflict and uncertainty, feeling both pride and the weight of unanswered questions pressing against him as the fair faded into night. As the last remnants of the fair flickered away under the starlit sky, Jake shifted from one foot to the other, feeling oddly exposed. The air was thick with both the scent of cold lemonade and the lingering whispers of his neighbors. Their glances now brimmed with confusion rather than contempt, a precarious balance that threatened to tip at any moment. He watched as the principal stepped forward, a gleam of respect in his eyes. The man cleared his throat before speaking, and the crowd fell silent. Tonight, we witnessed an act of selflessness from one of our own. Jake Thompson not only helped a neighbor in distress, but he reminded us all of the strength that comes from community and connection. Polite claps erupted among the crowd. Jake's heart fluttered, but he couldn't help but notice the few faces that remained cold, unmoved. He felt the tug of doubt. In those chaotic seconds, did they see a hero? Or did they just want to dash towards glory and forget the man behind the moment? His children, perched nearby, offered him beaming smiles, their eyes wide with admiration. They saw their dad as more than just a tenant or a struggling father. In their eyes, he was breathtaking. That thought chased away some of his fears. As Jake stood there basking in the moment, a voice broke through the murmur of the crowd. So, does this mean you'll be more involved from now on? It was Tara, the neighborhood's well-meaning secretary, with an eagerness that often bordered on frantic. Yeah, Jake started, but the words fell flat. Did he want to be involved? Could he fit into this community? He envisioned himself attending meetings and neighborhood events, standing shoulder to shoulder with those who had always seemed out of reach. But then another thought crept in: what if they only tolerated him, only celebrated the act, not the man? Of course he will. One of the more affluent men chimed in, his voice booming over the rest. You've earned our respect, Jake. We could use more people like you. That word, it struck him in a way that made his heart swell but also brought an anxious flutter to his stomach. More people like him. What did that mean? Would he be welcomed in community endeavors? Or would resentment bubble under the surface once the applause faded? The crowd dispersed after the formalities, people drifting away into the night. Jake felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Carter, one of the more compassionate dads from the school. You did good out there, man. Just keep being you. Let people see who you really are. Jake nodded, appreciating the comfort in those words. But with each passing moment, the fear of being misunderstood crept back in like a shadow. As he gathered his children, a young girl approached. Thank you for helping, Mrs. Hargrove. She beamed, her innocence cutting through the layers of doubt like a knife. You're a hero. Not a hero, he replied softly, kneeling to meet her gaze. Just someone who helped. Her eyes sparkled. But you were brave. Jake found a smile, but it felt flimsy in the face of the weight of adult worries. The night air was crisp, but the warmth inside still flickered. Could his act of kindness really bridge the gap that had always stood between him and this community? As he walked away from the fair, hand in hand with his children, he could almost hear the cheers fade into the night. But in the back of his mind, a question gnawed at him. Could one moment, one act of compassion truly change hearts and minds forever? The uncertainty simmered just beneath the surface, as their footsteps echoed on the pavement, leading them toward home and toward whatever unexpected opportunities tomorrow might bring. Was he ready for it all? As they neared their small house, the warmth of familiar surroundings wrapped around Jake and his children like a comforting blanket. The street lamps cast soft pools of light, illuminating their path. Chloe, the youngest, tugged at his hand, her excitement bubbling over as she recounted the fair's highlights, her laughter ringing like a sweet melody in the quiet night. Dad, can we have a lemonade stand next summer? She asked, her eyes shining with possibilities. And you can help everyone. Jake chuckled, the weight on his chest beginning to lift. Her innocence reminded him that though they faced challenges, there was still joy to be found in the simplest of dreams. Of course, kiddo. We'll make the best lemonade in the neighborhood, he replied, imagining the chance to bond not just with his children but also with their neighbors. As they entered their home, the echoes of the fair lingered, but the warmth of familial love enveloped him. Junior, his eldest, plopped down on the couch, a heavy breath escaping his lips. You were amazing out there, Dad. I'm proud of you. Jake felt a swell of pride at his son's words. He deserved this moment for his kids, no matter the uncertainties that lay ahead. Still, shadows loomed in the back of his mind, doubts flirting with his resolve. What if they forget? He muttered low, worried the hesitation would poison their happiness. Slammed doors in the past often haunted him, the scorn, the judgment, and he feared returning there. Forget what? Junior asked, looking genuinely perplexed. About me helping out. About me being part of the neighborhood, Jake admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Then don't let them. Junior exclaimed, his youthful conviction ringing loud and true. Just be you, Dad. Everyone loves you. They'll be fine. Jake squeezed his son's shoulder, feeling a flicker of hope. His children's faith in him was a light he needed to hold on to, especially now. He felt a dawning realization. He could control his own narrative. The more they fought to be part of this community, the more they defined their roles not as outsiders, but as vital players in their story. In that moment, Jake saw the path ahead more clearly. He could lift others, serve the community in ways he had never thought possible. The very act of reaching out might even heal more than just the rifts he sensed. Well, how about we design a community event this weekend? He suggested, surprised at the spontaneity coursing through him. Maybe a barbecue or a picnic. Something to bring everyone together. Junior's face lit up. A beam of sunlight in the dimly lit living room. That's awesome, Dad. We need to tell everyone. Yes, and we can help. Chloe chimed in, fists pumping with excitement. Jake couldn't help but smile, feeling a warmth spread through him. They spent the rest of the night brainstorming ideas what to grill, what games to play, filling the house with laughter, and a bit of their old traditions. The next morning, Jake woke up energized, ready to take on the day with a sense of purpose. He began drafting a plan, determined to invite everyone, even those who remained uncertain. It all felt like a leap of faith. That afternoon, as he scribbled ideas on a notepad, his phone buzzed. A message popped up from Tara. Hey Jake, is that true about the community barbecue? I'd love to help you organize it. Skepticism nudged him again, but excitement thrummed under the surface. Was the tide turning? Would this be the moment that truly bridged the gap between him and his neighbors? He paused, wondering if he was ready to step into a larger role. Was he prepared to not just be seen as the hero from last night, but as part of a lasting change? With a deep breath, he typed a response, sending it into the universe. Absolutely. Let us make it unforgettable. As the reply went through, Jake felt an energy buzz around him. This was different. The foundations for something greater stirred beneath the surface, yet a question lingered. Was it truly possible to change heart and mind, not just in others but in himself as well? Morning light streamed through the kitchen window, splashing soft yellow hues across the table where Jake sat, wrapped in thoughts. The excitement from last night's idea still danced in the corners of his mind. He imagined every family in the neighborhood coming together, sharing stories and laughter, a colorful tapestry of people woven tighter together through food and friendship. Hey Dad, what are you thinking about? Junior peeked over the edge of the fridge, a carton of milk in one hand and curiosity in his eyes. I was just thinking about the barbecue, Jake replied, stirring his coffee absent-mindedly. How it could bring everyone together. Yeah, and we can have games. Maybe a talent show. I can play guitar. Junior shot back, an energy of youth and enthusiasm pouring from him. Chloe bounded into the room, her pajamas still hanging loosely on her. And I can sing. Can I, Dad? Please. She squealed, her face lighting up with joy. Jake chuckled, his heart swelling. They had a plan, a shared vision that was as exhilarating as it was daunting. He set down the coffee, a sudden resolve kicking in. Let us do it. Let us go talk to some neighbors today. A shadow of uncertainty flickered across Junior's face. What if they don't want to come? Jake looked his son in the eyes. Then we'll make sure they want to. We're opening the door. It's our job to invite them in. After breakfast, they set off as a family, armed with flyers and bright smiles. Each door they knocked on felt like a small hurdle. Jake's heart raced, each thump echoing his insecurities. Would they remember the past? Would they judge or welcome? Their first stop was Mrs. Henderson, a sweet elderly lady who lived across the street. When the door swung open, her face broke into a warm grin. Well, hello there. What brings you all to my doorstep? Jake's voice was steady despite the butterflies in his stomach. We're organizing a community barbecue this weekend. We'd love for you to join us. Oh dear. That sounds delightful. Mrs. Henderson clasped her hands. Count me in. I'll bring my famous potato salad. Encouraged by her enthusiasm, they moved on, visiting families, exchanging ideas, building excitement. A few doors down, Mr. Chun appeared reluctant at first, his brow furrowed with skepticism. A barbecue? Will it really be worth our time? He asked. Jake, sensing the doubt, took a breath. It's about more than just food, Mr. Chun. It's about us getting to know each other, about building a community where we support one another. The softened glare of Mr. Chun was enough to spark a flicker of hope, and soon that flicker turned into a smile. All right, I'll bring some of my homemade dumplings, but only if you promise to try them. Laughter mingled with chatter as the hours rolled on. The warmth grew, melting the ice that had formed in years of distance. Each home invited clarity and assurance, the invisible barriers falling brick by brick. When they finally returned home, Jake felt lighter, as if the burdens he'd carried had been lifted. But just as the joy painted his face with a sense of accomplishment, his phone buzzed with a new message. Tara had sent a group text to the neighborhood. Looking forward to the barbecue. Can't wait to see everyone and meet new faces. Jake's heart skipped a beat. Will this really work? He thought about the people who had once turned away from him. Would they embrace this chance? Or would they cling to the past? He glanced at Junior and Chloe, who were busy writing invitations for their classmates. Their laughter filled the room, and in that moment, he realized something profound. Regardless of how the event turned out, they had already succeeded. They were making connections. They were stepping into the light together. Dad? Junior broke into his thoughts. What if they don't come? Jake wrapped an arm around his son, pulling him close. Then we'll keep trying. We've already started something good. In the silence that followed, a thought echoed in Jake's mind. The true challenge lay in the days ahead. More than just organizing an event, it was about nurturing the newfound trust. They were on the cusp of something transformative, not just for the neighborhood but for themselves. With determination swelling in him, Jake prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead. As he closed his eyes, envisioning a neighborhood filled with laughter and life, he reminded himself of one thing: true change starts within. But would the community embrace the change, or would he find himself facing an unseen resistance in the days to come? The sun hung high in the sky the next day, casting shadows on the sidewalk as Jake pored over a notebook filled with plans and ideas. He sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by a flurry of colored flyers, each one announcing the barbecue and inviting everyone to join. Junior and Chloe sat nearby, doodling on smaller pieces of paper. Junior drawing guitars, while Chloe penned little motivational messages like "Come for the food, stay for the fun." "Dad, we need a catchy name for the barbecue," Junior exclaimed, his enthusiasm radiating like the sun outside. "How about Jake's Joyful Barbecue? Or Chloe's Community Cookout?" chimed in Chloe, her brown eyes sparkling with creativity. Jake smiled, appreciating their excitement. It warmed him, but a twist of anxiety still danced in his gut. "Let us think about how we can make it special," he suggested. "What if we ask everyone to bring their favorite dish from their culture?" "That's a great idea." Junior nodded, while Chloe clapped her hands in delight. They spent the next hour brainstorming ideas and organizing the flyers into stacks. As they worked, Jake caught sight of the clock ticking steadily. Time seemed to slip away so quickly. They had only 2 days before the event. Doubts began to creep in. "Do you really think everyone will bring something different?" he asked, voicing his unspoken thoughts. "Of course," Junior piped. "People love sharing their food. Trust me, Dad." In that moment, Jake felt a flicker of what can only be called hope. It was a light illuminating the spaces where fear often crowded in. If he could keep that flicker alive, it might just spark a fire in the hearts of their neighbors. As the afternoon wore on, Jake headed out onto the front porch. The neighborhood seemed alive, children laughing, people strolling past. All the while he felt a tug from within. It was as if the universe was urging him to step into the heart of the community, instead of waiting for it to come to him. He took a deep breath and started stepping into the street. He waved at the Thompsons next door, an older couple who were often reserved but had shared the occasional smile. "Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson. We're throwing a barbecue this weekend. We'd love for you to come." Mrs. Thompson looked up, surprise crossing her face. "Oh, very nice, Jake. What can we bring?" "Just yourselves and maybe a dish you love." He felt the warmth of connection as he scanned the street, noticing how the act of reaching out was beginning to soften the edges of his own worries. Jake continued, chatting with different families, building momentum. At one house he found Abby, a single mom juggling 2 kids and groceries. He invited her to come and could see hesitation in her eyes. "I wish I could, but it's just so hectic, you know? Why don't we help you out? Bring the kids and we can all pitch in," he offered. This time, Abby smiled genuinely, a spark igniting in her expression. "Well, if you insist, I just might show up." Buoyed by the wave of interest, Jake headed back home. His spirit lifted along with the weight of uncertainty. The food, the games, the mingling all felt more possible than ever. He pictured families gathered around, sharing laughter, and much more than just a barbecue, a real understanding taking root. But as evening loomed, a sudden message popped up on his phone. It was from Tara again, but this one felt charged. "There are some people who think we shouldn't have this event. They're against it. We have to talk." The words hit him like a cold gust, dousing the warmth of earlier conversations. Were there still those shadows of distrust lurking in his neighborhood? Jake ran a hand through his hair, staring at the screen. What had started as a hopeful endeavor now seemed precarious. How could he bring the neighborhood together when signs of division still lingered? He took a deep breath and turned to see Junior and Chloe racing through the living room, full of energy and laughter. They were blissfully unaware of the challenges, and right then, Jake realized he had to keep pushing forward. No matter the obstacles, the true test awaited him. Would he rally everyone together against those opposing forces? Would the community embrace the chance to come together? Or would fear and suspicion win out? With the resolve building inside him, Jake felt one question settle in his heart. Was he ready for the fight ahead? Jake sat on the edge of the bed, staring at his phone. Tara's message loomed large, bringing an unexpected sense of foreboding. He could feel his heart beating faster, not just from the initial shock but from the weight of responsibility he now bore. He had the chance to build something wonderful for his neighborhood, but the shadows of doubt loomed. "Dad!" Junior shouted from the other room, pulling him back from his thoughts. "Chloe and I are making posters. Come see." He forced a smile, knowing he couldn't let his kids see the worry etched on his face. He stood up, his legs carrying him to the living room where Chloe and Junior had spread out an array of colored markers and sheets of poster board. "Look, we made one that says, 'Food brings us together,'" Chloe exclaimed, her artistic flair evident in the swirling designs around the words. "That's amazing. I love it," Jake said, feeling a surge of pride. But somewhere in the corner of his mind, the dark cloud of uncertainty lingered, merging with the colorful sketches. He felt a sudden urge to tell his children about Tara's warning, to prepare them for potential backlash. But no, they were excited and innocent about the plans. They deserved this brief moment of joy without the burdens he carried. "Let us make a big poster that highlights the World Plate theme. Everyone can write down what they're bringing," Jake suggested. It was like a small beacon of light, a way for the kids to channel their energy. "Yeah," Junior beamed. "Let us add flags from different countries." As they began working together, laughter filled the room, momentarily pushing away the nagging sense of dread. But there remained a gnawing question on Jake's mind. How could he confront the negativity without letting it overshadow the excitement his kids were feeling? Later that evening, Jake found himself pacing in the kitchen. The kids had gone to bed, leaving him alone with his swirling thoughts. He suddenly realized that instead of retreating in fear, he could address it head-on. He grabbed his notebook and jotted down ideas for a short speech he could give at the barbecue. Something that would address any concerns and frame the event without hostility. As he wrote, a plan began to solidify in his mind. "Let us make this barbecue more than just food," Jake murmured. "Let us forge connections." He envisioned a circle of chairs, where people could share their stories, expose their fears and build trust through conversation. If they could truly understand one another, perhaps the shadows of distrust could dissipate. The next morning dawned crisp and clear. Jake awoke with a renewed purpose. He had little time left before the barbecue, and yet everything seemed so unpredictable. He decided it was imperative to get Junior and Chloe involved in nailing down the details, and perhaps even tackling the potential opposition. "Hey, you two," he called out as they groggily wandered into the kitchen. "What do you say we visit the neighbors today like we did yesterday? I want everyone to have a chance to share what they're bringing. And to hear your ideas. Can we make more posters too?" Chloe asked, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "Absolutely," Jake replied, feeling the uplifting energy spread. As they headed out, he made it a point to stop by houses where he sensed tension could be brewing. In his heart, he wished to express openness, to share both excitement and understanding. But as they approached a neighbor's house, Jake caught sight of a small gathering on the porch. A couple of familiar faces weren't smiling. Instead, their expressions hinted at something more serious. His stomach twisted. The barbecue could be the springboard they needed to unite, but was it already on shaky ground? Jake hesitated, gripping the flyers in his hand tightly. He could either shy away or take a stand. But what if that stand turned this from a celebration into a confrontation? "Come on, Dad, let us go," Junior urged, tugging at his arm. Jake took a deep breath. "You're right. One step at a time." But as they approached the front steps, ready to stand firm in Front of past fears, Jake felt his heart race. What awaited him on that porch might change everything. Would this be a moment of connection? Or a flashpoint for anger? With every step, Jake felt the stakes rising. What would he say? Would they stand firm together? The door opened slowly, and all eyes turned to him. Jake swallowed hard, feeling the weight of everyone's gaze pressing against him. The porch looked familiar, but today it felt foreign, an arena where the smallest of choices could spark a wildfire. He took a step forward, his intention clear. "Hi there. I'm Jake, and these are my kids, Junior and Chloe," he began, his voice steady despite the quivering of his hands. "We're planning a neighborhood barbecue and wanted to invite you all. It's a chance for us to come together, share food and stories. What's so special about it? Just another cookout?" A gruff voice emerged from the crowd. Jake recognized Carl, the man known for his stern disposition. He could feel Junior shifting slightly beside him, a tiny signal of his anxiousness. Jake absorbed the question, the tension hanging thick in the air, but he pressed on. "I get it. It might seem like just another day of grilling, but it's more than that for us. We believe in connection and building trust. There's a lot of misunderstanding and anxiety, and this might be a step toward healing." He looked at the small group, a collection of faces etched with suspicion and weariness. He could feel Chloe's small hand squeezing his, seeking reassurance. "Come on," Carl scoffed, crossing his arms. "You really think a barbecue will change things? You've got people around here with memories that run deep. You'll just stir up old wounds." Jake's heart raced. Carl was right. Wounds had festered for years, breeding a distrust that loomed like a cloud. "I know," Jake replied, his voice softening. "I'm not saying it'll fix everything overnight, but maybe it starts a conversation. We're all neighbors here. I don't want my kids growing up in a place where they fear each other." Chloe chimed in then, her voice small but sturdy. "It's about having fun, too. I made a poster. We're all bringing different foods from our cultures. It's like a world picnic." A hesitant murmur spread through the gathering, and for a moment, Jake thought he'd glimpsed a flash of something like understanding in Carl's eyes. Instead of the usual retort, Carl remained silent, contemplating. "Look, we don't need to have all the answers today," Jake continued. "We just need to take a step forward. Let us share stories, food, laughter, get to know each other. Can't hurt to try." Just then a voice piped up from the back. "I think we all could do with a little fun." It was Mrs. Lewis, her gray hair bobbing as she stepped forward. "I could bake my prize-winning pie, and I've got a few other recipes that might bring some smiles." Others began nodding. "I'd be up for a game of horseshoes," another neighbor said. The first flickers of excitement began to loosen the tightness of the moment. Jake felt a rush of relief, though his heart remained in that familiar knot. It was just a start, but maybe it was enough. "Great." Jake beamed, his nerves melting away as people exchanged ideas. Junior pulled Chloe closer, throwing her a proud smile. As they wrapped up, Carl approached him. "You have a lot of guts, Jake. Just remember, some folks won't back down easy." "Thanks, Carl. I'll keep that in mind. But I'd prefer to focus on those willing to try," Jake replied, heart pounding with cautious optimism. As the group began to disperse, Jake felt a swirl of emotions. Would this stand lead to real change, or would it deepen divisions he could not foresee? Hope flickered, but it danced closely alongside uncertainty. He turned to Junior and Chloe, who were excitedly discussing horse games and pie recipes. Their innocent enthusiasm sparked a warmth in his chest. On their walk home, Chloe paused, looking up at Jake. "Do you really think they'll wanna come, Dad?" Jake hesitated, staring forward into the unknown. "I hope so, Chloe. I really do. But we'll need to show them it's worth it." With every step he took, the questions loomed just as large as the hopes. What awaited them at the barbecue? Would it make a difference, or would it just expose deeper rifts? The path ahead remained uncertain, but Jake felt determined. The true challenge was just beginning. Jake's heart raced as the echoes of the porch faded behind them. The afternoon sun poured golden light on their path, but it didn't chase away the shadow that lingered in his mind. With every step toward home, unease churned in his stomach. Chloe and Junior were buzzing with excitement, but he felt the burden of responsibility knitting tighter around him. As they reached their front yard, the small grill waited expectantly beside their porch. Jake felt a pang of determination. We should start planning right away, don't you think? He said, trying to match their enthusiasm. Can we make hot dogs, Dad? Everyone loves hot dogs, Junior exclaimed, pumping his fists in the air. Sure thing, buddy, Jake replied, ruffling his son's hair. But let us not forget what Chloe said. We need dishes from different cultures. I want everyone to feel included. Chloe nodded vigorously. And the poster, Dad. I want it colorful and fun. She dashed inside the house, her small feet barely touching the ground, leaving Jake and Junior outside. What else should we put in the poster? Junior asked, his brow furrowed in thought. We need to get people excited. As they mused together, Jake caught sight of their neighbor, Mrs. Lewis, tending to her garden. Her roses were in full bloom, vibrant and alive. Maybe they could ask for her help with the poster. Felt like a sign. Let us go add some flowers to the poster, Jake suggested, leading Junior toward the fence. Okay, I'll ask her about her pie too. Junior raced ahead, filled with a burst of energy. Jake approached the garden, feeling more confident. Hey, Mrs. Lewis, he called out, waving. Do you have a minute? Of course, Jake, she replied, looking up from within the petals. There was warmth in her smile, something that, for a moment, felt like healing. What can I do for you? We're working on our barbecue poster, and I was wondering if you could help us with some decorations, he said, motioning to Junior, who was enthusiastically picking roses to place at the top of their poster. Oh, those are lovely. You kids just start with the flowers. I'll be right back with some of my fancy decorations. A wave of hope washed over Jake. It felt wonderful, unlike anything he'd felt that week. They were building connections, one flower at a time. Before long, Mrs. Lewis returned with colorful ribbons and a cheerful tablecloth. This will brighten it up, she said, her laughter infectious. They spent the next hour crafting the poster. By the end of it, the poster was an explosion of colors and creativity, filled with drawings of dishes everyone was bringing. A world picnic was boldly written across the top. Just then the front door creaked open and Jake's wife Lisa stepped out, hands on her hips. What are you three up to? Making a poster for the barbecue, Junior chirped. Lisa's eyebrow raised, her expression shifting. You'll need to be careful, Jake. People aren't always receptive. This is our chance. Lisa, Jake countered, determination thick in his voice. We have to try. Junior, with a brilliant smile, jumped in. And Mrs. Lewis helped us. We're all going to bring our best foods and have fun. Lisa's expression softened. She moved closer, inspecting the poster with a smile that seemed to dance at the edges of her lips. Well, it does look pretty inviting. As they stepped back to admire the poster, a sudden rush of joy filled the air. Felt good to think of what might come. Then Jake's phone chimed in his pocket. He pulled it out, recognizing a message from Carl. Looking forward to that cookout. Got some ideas too. A twinge of disbelief ran through Jake. Would this really work? Or was it just a fleeting moment of excitement? He glanced at his kids, their laughter ringing clear and bright in his ears. The uncertainty still loomed like a menacing cloud, but this tiny glimmer of hope sparked a strong urge within him. Would their small efforts open a door? Or would they find themselves confronting shadows they weren't ready to face? That day, Jake felt the pull of the future, and with every step closer to the barbecue, the question loomed larger. Could they actually transform this neighborhood? The days leading up to the barbecue crawled by, each moment thick with anticipation and anxiety. Jake flipped through his contacts, contemplating who he might invite. Carl was a given, but who else? Would anyone out there be willing to take a chance on this gathering? Chloe and Junior were relentless with their excitement, their energy charging the air like static before a storm. They spent every afternoon making decorative pieces for the event. Paper flowers, cut-out flags from around the world, and drawings of smiling faces soon cluttered the kitchen table. One evening, Lisa found Jake sitting at the edge of their bed, staring at the mountain of invites he'd hastily penned. You okay? She asked, concern knitting her brow. I'm just not sure, he confessed, running a hand through his hair. What if nobody comes? She eased onto the bed beside him, resting a hand on his knee. You can't think like that. Just remember why you wanted to do this. You wanted to make it feel more like a neighborhood, a community. Her words hit home. Jake took a deep breath and nodded. It was true. He wanted a place where they all could feel welcomed. Laughter echoing under the warm sun, stories shared. The night before the barbecue, the weather turned cool and breezy, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Jake spent hours grilling hot dogs in their backyard, the smell mingling with the sweet scent of summer. He could almost see the vision of friends and neighbors gathering around, their laughter blending in the air. But as the hour approached, doubt crept in again. What if I'm the only one out here cooking for my kids? He murmured under his breath, stirring the grill. Just then, Junior darted past him with Chloe trailing closely behind, holding a tiny American flag they had crafted earlier. Dad, we need to set up the table. Junior pulled at his sleeve, eyes wide with glee. All right, let us do it. Jake rallied, trying to shake off the weight in his chest. They set up tables adorned with an array of colorful tablecloths, decorated carefully with the flowers from Mrs. Lewis. The poster was hung proudly near the grill, a proud testament to their collective effort, and hope settled like a soft blanket over his heart. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, he glanced around at the still empty yard. It's just us for now, he whispered to himself. But just then, a sound broke through the stillness, the unmistakable chatter of voices. Jake's heart raced again. But this time it was anticipation tinged with hope. Families emerged from the edges of the neighborhood, some holding dishes wrapped in foil, others carrying drinks. Carl was at the forefront, his arms laden with homemade salsa and chips. Jake, you ready to fire this thing up? He called out, a warm grin stretching across his face. The air that had felt so heavy lifted, replaced by a swell of excitement. Neighbors spilled forth, gathering around the tables, sharing stories and laughter. The barriers that had once seemed insurmountable began to crumble as plates filled with international dishes were passed around. Jake watched his children engage with others, playing games and forging friendships, and he felt a warmth bloom inside him. For the first time in weeks, he felt connected, a web of smiles and laughter that hinted at change. See, you did it, Lisa whispered, leaning close. But as the evening progressed and the stars began to twinkle overhead, Jake noticed a family standing by the edge of the yard, their expressions hesitant. His stomach twisted a little. What if they weren't sure if they belonged? With renewed determination, he approached them, determination clear in his stride. Hey there. I'm Jake. We're just getting started. You're welcome to join us. The moment felt fragile, but the power of those words felt sturdy, like the promise of something new. Would they come forward, or would their doubts hold them back? Jake stayed where he was, heart pounding slightly as he waited for their answer. The air crackled with potential, each second stretching into eternity. The family exchanged glances, uncertainty swirling in their eyes. Jake's heart raced, wishing he could somehow draw them in closer. Just as he felt his courage wavering, the father took a step forward, a small smile breaking through the tension. Thanks for the invite. We could use a little fun. Relief flooded through Jake like a wave. We'd love to have you. Everyone's bringing their favorite dishes. What do you enjoy cooking? Their moment of hesitation melted away as they joined the group, laughter resounding like music in the air. The atmosphere felt charged, and Jake glanced around, watching the magic unfold. Conversations ignited like fireworks. Despite the fears that still crept around the edges of his heart, he felt a flicker of hope transforming into something more substantial. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a blanket of stars overhead, he caught sight of Chloe and Junior helping Mrs. Lewis set up a game of cornhole. The joy radiated from their faces, and so many children were running around, sharing the space, their laughter mingling with the soft strains of music drifting from a nearby speaker. Jake made his way back to the grill, flipping burgers and hot dogs, but all he could think about were the conversations swirling around him. He spotted Carl deep in an animated discussion with one of the newer families. The barriers of judgment and distance seemed to disappear with every shared anecdote and every echoed chuckle. Feeling the warmth of connection wrapping around him, Jake stepped back, taking a moment to breathe in the sweet aroma mingling with laughter. I did this, he thought. We did this. Then there came an unexpected pause as someone cleared their throat nearby. Jake turned to see Tara approaching, her expression earnest yet softened. I'm really glad you did this, Jake. It's reminding people that we're more alike than we think. Thanks, Tara. I almost let doubt take over today. He glanced around once more, observing how the entire yard was alive with kindness. It felt like a shared tapestry, woven with vibrant threads of acceptance. The evening unfolded, melting into a tapestry of smiles, stories, and new friendships. Jake found himself tapping into a newfound role, a bridge among neighbors who were once strangers. As he moved through the crowd, sharing jokes and sampling dishes, he felt the shadows of judgment lift like a fog. For the first time he sensed he wasn't just welcome. He was needed. When the sun dipped fully beneath the horizon, leaving behind a canopy of stars, Jake stood with his children, each of them cradling plates filled with a variety of culinary delights. "Look at this, Dad. We brought everyone together," Junior exclaimed, beaming with pride. Chloe chimed in, her face radiant. "And nobody was left out." Jake's heart swelled as he took in the scene. The gathering around the patio was more than just people sharing food. It was community breathing life into his dream. It was everything he had worked for. Feeling the sense of belonging blossom from something beautiful yet fragile. "Before we wrap up, why don't we take a moment to share our favorite dish and why it's special?" Jake suggested, feeling a spark of excitement surge anew. Everyone nodded, sparking conversations that drew forth history, traditions, and personal stories. He took a deep breath, urging people to see not just what was on the table, but the richness behind each dish, an unfolding narrative of who they were, where they came from, and what they could build together. As families shared their stories, Jake reflected on his journey, how fear had tried to chain him down, but had instead become the fuel for growth. He felt lighter, clearer. The act of reaching out, opening himself up to the neighborhood, had not only drawn them in but also set him free. Later, as night enveloped the gathering, he stepped aside with Junior and Chloe, wrapping his arms around them proudly. "I couldn't have done this without you two." "You're amazing, Dad," Junior replied, eyes glistening with excitement. "What's next?" Chloe asked, her curiosity piqued. "A new beginning," Jake whispered, knowing that the barbecue wasn't the end, but merely the start of endless possibilities. In that moment, Jake realized that embracing community wasn't just about sharing space or food. It was about love, an unbroken thread that could lead them forward together. He looked around the vibrant spectacle of neighbors sharing plates, laughter, and stories. With each spoken word and shared smile, he understood they were building a new legacy, one rooted in acceptance, courage, and love. As the stars twinkled above like hopeful eyes, Jake felt life flowing through him anew, an unstoppable wave echoing the transformation they had all sparked together. Each step taken was now a step toward a lasting community. So he raised his glass to toast to new beginnings, to us, to our stories, and to never forgetting to find joy in one another. Cheers erupted across the crowd. Together in that moment under the starlit sky, old wounds began to heal, and new relationships flourished, forever uniting them through laughter, love, and shared dreams. Emboldened by tonight's success, Jake turned to face the bright horizon ahead, knowing the journey was only just beginning. Now, as you've journeyed with Jake through hope, community, and transformation, make this your moment. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because your support truly matters. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. Your voice is vital. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Remember, only true fans understand the importance of rallying our community behind these powerful stories.